born an athlete, you'll die an athlete. It's in your DNA.
You're an athlete. Live like an athlete so that you can be successful in life.
You're an athlete. Live like it.
ANA, America needs athletes.
Alright, recording and recording. Holy shit.
We're live.
Everything's going and everything works.
Wow.
Ooh.
Holy shit.
Except
Welcome
for
athletes
9:30,
into the gym
11:30.
class. Yeah, except for that. And he interrupted me right.
Which you guys
during
might
my-
appreciate because we're going to make this one short and sweet today. So
Yes, it's going to be a short and sweet one. But welcome if you have not joined us before. We are a life optimization podcast. We talk about living like an athlete. It's all about being successful in life, and we live like athletes in order to be successful in life. And so that's what we are all about at Krave Gym. And we have some tips and tricks and challenges and some things that can help you optimize. So hopefully we have some great knowledge for you, as well as inside of the gym information and expertise. We are one head coach short because we took way too long, like Amber has said, bullshitting in our head coaches meeting. And we do that because we love the program so much, and we make sure that everything is exactly what we want.
Yeah, it was.
And we argue with each other a lot.
Yeah,
And
it was
we
very
decided
good.
today to cancel the challenge forever.
Because Amber gets nervous.
Yeah.
'Cause- yeah, I guess.
Just kidding. Nope.
Nope.
Everyone just went, yes.
Everyone
and
was
then
so
they're
excited
like,
for this 5 seconds
Yes.
there. Nope. Challenge.
I tried.
stays.
No, I'm just.
But we do have a couple wrinkles into the challenges come next season too, so we'll touch on that when we go over next season and next season's challenge. But
Whew,
today-
you're talking fast today.
we gotta go.
You got a lot to say.
We gotta go. And I had coffee, pre-workout, and my Monster already this
Oh my
morning.
god, that's terrible.
So I'm roaring, but that's all my caffeine for the day.
Oh, you're gonna be done. No more.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't have any more.
I like it. Okay.
Actually, I may have. Nope, it's gonna be a caffeine-free soda for lunch.
All right. No more.
But-
Holding you to it.
Yes, but yeah, typically I drink my Monster at like 11, which would be like now, but I drank it when we started the meeting at 9. So by 9 a.m. I had my coffee, my pre-workout, and my.
This is so funny because I wonder if people have like a certain, because I have a time that I drink my Monster, like I'll look at the clock and be like, okay, it's 1:30 or 2, I gotta have my Monster.
I have a time that I drink my Bang Energy and it's 4:30 a.m.
So you
That
get
is
up and you
so
can drink.
funny. Oh yeah.
Oh, I drink it. I crack it open as I turn the TV on for the 5 a.m. session.
Really?
I
Yeah,
love it.
I can't. Something weird in my mind. I always drink my coffee, but I have to have coffee, not energy drink.
No, I
Interesting.
cannot imagine waking up and cracking.
Oh,
open
yeah,
that energy
I'm
drink
like,
first
that's
thing.
why-
There's
Yeah.
no way.
So in the
I don't know
6 a.m. session, like the 5. Well, I mean, I have a natural zest for life. I always tell people when it comes to the morning. I honestly don't mind the mornings. Like,
That's awesome.
I usually have at least one. On Mondays, I have 2 nutrition meetings before the 5 a.m. session even starts. So like I start meeting with people at 4:30 a.m. on Mondays.
Hell yeah.
So I like to get my week going.
Right,
know.
right.
Zach's
Yeah, I'm
week
going on
rips.
Mondays. Yeah. But yeah, so usually I'd like chug a protein shake on the way in, and then at that point it's energy drink at 5 a.m. Yep. So I have a
guess
lot
I
of
just
liquids.
love coffee so much because if you didn't love coffee,
And
I
the
mean,
thing, I
what
don't
else
really
do you do,
like
right?
coffee that much.
I just love.
yeah.
Oh gosh, I'll just like watch my coffee pot. And my day cannot start until I have a cup of
You're-
coffee in my hand.
You're like
Psycho about my
you're
coffee.
like zombie mode to the like that's first thing
Oh
that
yeah,
you do.
get out of my
I'm
way. I won't
like-
even say hi to my kids. I'll go to my coffee.
Right.
No.
She just mushes Porter out of the way
Push
to
them
get
aside.
to the coffee. But seriously, like I'll cook my eggs and I'll do other stuff before I cook my coffee or before I eat my
Blows
coffee,
my mind.
drink my coffee. Can't even talk
Can't
today.
even talk. Too much caffeine.
But we have a couple. We have Mythbusters. We have a structure of a.
Craving. We're
this
doing
craving-
it.
we're
We're doing
doing
it.
We've
Okay.
been thinking about this for months.
I was gonna say, we our craving
I
has
was
been
hoping
promised and talked
That,
about
you guys
since
have
the
solved
worst podcast ever.
Yes.
I was
if
hoping
you've watched
that last podcast where I was gone that you guys would have just had all the solves, but rumor has it that's not the
We
case.
did not.
So we're gonna try. I mean, fuck it.
Did anybody ever? Did we ever put anything out about? Did anybody comment on the worst podcast ever about? Like if people liked the
No.
list format or no?
No, nobody.
I don't think anybody did.
comments.
So
See, so they didn't mind either.
And it was actually one of the higher viewed ones.
Right. Well, how
we've
could you
had
not
recently.
want to? How
I
could you
think
not
it's
want to
It's
see
because
like,
that?
of
wait, worst podcast
Right.
ever? I gotta
It's
listen to this.
intriguing. It's very
Yeah.
intriguing.
Or was it because of Mythbusters? Those always get people too.
That could be. That actually brings me into a perfect segue for the Mythbuster. if we
Yeah,
want to
let's
just
get
dive
it.
right in.
Let's do
So, clickbait. Tyler loves using clickbait on our podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, yes.
But so I was talking with one of my personal training clients yesterday, and she said she's an avid podcast listener too, so thank you. And she said that she was watching some Instagram reels, and she saw a reel that claimed it was a lady, and she said that you should not do cardio or conditioning for weight loss, strength training only. And I just got to take a step back and say that I understand her premise when it comes to this. And like I was saying, you know, if I had to pick, like gun to my head, I would pick strength training over cardio conditioning.
There's a better one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. For if we're talking even strictly for weight loss. However, we're not training. We are not a weight loss boot camp style of fitness center or gym. There's a lot of benefits still coming from those endurance rounds and the agility rounds and the striking rounds that you're not going to get from lifting, right? So like the biggest one is obviously your cardiovascular health system. So that's just, when you're lifting, you know, if you lift for 15 seconds, rest for a minute, lift for 15 seconds, rest for a minute, your heart rate's going to get up, but it's not going to be the same type of benefits as doing that conditioning type stuff. So to kind of, you know, bring it back, it gets to be, a lot of those Instagram reels I think are obviously very clickbaity. So when you see, you know, again, someone who's, you know, a really in shape lady on Instagram and she's yelling at you, she says, stop doing cardio. First of all, I would listen to that to see what she has to say.
And that's,
I would
that's the
be
thing.
intrigued.
If somebody says something about, hey, stop doing the thing that you hate that you feel
Right.
like you have to do.
I'm going to be like, okay,
I'll be
let me
like,
listen.
what do I do?
And
Yeah.
The only
that's
thing
a
I love about all
fantastic-
this is that she said weightlifting versus like, don't weightlift. Weightlifting is bad for you. Like you'll
Right.
get bulky. Do cardio. Like
Right.
I'm glad
So that's
she's
the thing is,
on one side, but it's too extreme.
Right.
It's like there's other benefits to endurance
I
training.
think that's
for sure.
like you said, clickbaity. I think that's the number one thing that they try that the Instagram reels and stuff, especially being shorter
Right.
videos, they have to be polarizing one way or the other.
Right.
So instead of like a podcast like we're doing here, which I love long form podcasts because nothing is simply black or white. Do this, don't do this. There's an integrated, optimal way to do things, and it's if anybody ever says only do this or never do this, those, you know, exacts are those black or white. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm not
extremes?
just- extremes. Yes,
Extremes,
those
yeah.
extremes, or those you know, never do something or always do something. That's where you have to watch out and be like, well, you can kind of do that sometimes,
Right.
or you can, you know, always do this. Well, I'm not always going to do that,
Right.
You know, and so that's where this type of conversation where we're having with you can actually, you know, pan that out. And I think that, you know, busting that myth of not doing cardio has a premise, like you said, of that it breaks the stereotype of cardio is the only way to lose weight.
Right. And we've talked about it all the time. I think we've done another Mythbusters, and we talk about it when we get into strength season, especially the benefits of strength training specific to weight loss.
Right.
And like I said, if you absolutely had to pick, like you could only do one or the other, I would always recommend strength training. I think that gives you the more long-term metabolic benefits, strictly from a weight loss perspective. But not everything we're doing is just to lose weight, right? That's kind of the big thing that I think with fitness in general. I think so many people get into this mindset of everything fitness related has to be driven towards losing weight. That's the only goal people can have. And for a lot of people, that is the big goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like from a performance aspect and just from
being
you know
a
living a
well-rounded
better life and
athlete.
living like an athlete,
Right.
Yeah.
having
I
a good
like all of it,
cardiovascular
right.
system and being able to run for longer than 20 seconds, those things are important too. You know?
Because I love it,
generally
like-
feeling good.
Right.
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 And coming off of a season where we just finished our strength season and then getting into endurance, you can tell like you're not in cardio or endurance shape, right?
Right.
You feel
Yeah.
like you're so out of shape and dying, but now it's 4 weeks in or 3 weeks and you feel like things are getting easier now.
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of see how training different styles like affects you.
Right.
in a
And I think
different
it's
way.
interesting. I think, and I use the word optimize all the time, right? So optimizing is a couple different things to me. Optimizing is scientific numbers. So doing this exactly is going to optimize, make sure that it's the exact thing, but then the human element comes in too. So like a lot of it is if you don't like doing a certain kind of cardio, if you don't like running outside, for example, you have your knees hurt. This is where I'm at. I rarely run outside. I run on the treadmill. I do sprints oftentimes, but jogging long distance outside is not for me. And
What's so funny?
yeah, why
When
is
you
that
did
so
that Tough Mudder or whatever,
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
you were going to die.
Yeah.
You did so good, though. I was very proud of you, but I'm like,
oh, I felt like I
holy
was going to die. So then I realized, like, if I am in a position where I have to run for my life, I can run. It was a 10K. I can run 3 miles, and at that
Yeah,
point,
you-
my knee is going to feel like it has shrapnel in it and is going to stop working.
Yeah, you
And at
did
that
it.
point, I'd start
You did
walking.
it.
And got done. But yeah, so that, picking those different types of cardio is a big thing too. But ultimately, to optimize your performance, you're going to do both. That's why we have 4 elements. So we have 4 elements at Krave. And if you're a part of Krave program, you already know 4 elements are strength, endurance, which we're talking about today, agility, and striking. And the way that we break those 4 up is strength and conditioning. And the conditioning element comes from striking, agility, and your endurance. And so in conditioning overall, that's where your quote unquote normal gyms or box gyms or old school gyms cardio would come from, right? That's why I like breaking ours up and how you get your cardio, because the agility movements are working so much more than just your cardiorespiratory system, your cardiovascular system. They are, working your agility. Striking, same thing. They're working so much more than just your lungs and capacity and all that kind of stuff. And then moving on to endurance, where it is more of just the endurance, the running, the rowing, the cardiorespiratory type of exercise. But those both have to be in your program if you want to optimize your program. And to optimize your program and when we talk about that, our goal is being the best athlete that you can be. Whether that's, maybe you have more goals about being stronger, so the ratio should switch similar to what we do in our strength season. When you want to be stronger, the ratio switches and you do more volume of strength versus the endurance. If you're a marathon runner, you obviously need to worry about more of your cardiorespiratory conditioning, and you should be doing more endurance as well as the activity that you're wanting to excel at, right? And so those are things that we have to concentrate on. Is you need all 4 of those elements. Now, in what regard you need them in, or what percentage or emphasis you need them in, really depends on what you want to get out of it and what goal you want. But all of those should be implemented into your program. And if you're strictly weight loss, now we're talking about how much of a deficit we can get into and what elicits more of a deficit, right? So now when we're talking about, the going back to the myth, don't do cardio, you are going to have so much better acute weight loss, or acute calorie burn, if you're doing your endurance, especially this season, because it's HIIT season, it's endurance season, and it's HIIT endurance season. Your sprints, your Tabata type training is going to burn more calories acutely than you would if you were just lifting weights, right? Acutely. Now, long term, those calories equal out. So that's why you need both. You need the acute calorie burn for the day's total calorie deficit that you want to be in that day, but then the weightlifting is going to help you with your basal metabolic rate, like we talked about, your long-term rate. So I like she's not all wrong when she says
Right.
don't do cardio,
I get
just lift
where,
weights.
Right.
And if
But
you-
someone could read that and clickbait, be like, "Oh, I'm
And
never
that's-
doing
I'm never doing
Yes.
cardio again.
Right.
And that's the problem.
issue with
That's the
a lot of
problem
this
with
stuff. Yeah.
with the not doing a podcast like we're doing or listening to a long form talk, but listening to someone on TikTok, listening to such short form things. People do form opinions and make changes in their life because of a 6-second video.
Right.
And if that 6-second video says, do this, don't do that, and you don't do more research beyond that, you're going to, in the back of your head, you're going to be like, well, I can skip cardio. I can skip my cardio today because remember that 6-second video that I listened to? She said it was okay. And yeah, I don't feel like doing the cardio
Right.
today, and that's the important part is most of the time you don't feel like doing that shit, or a lot of people,
Right.
Right.
And that's the
So
stuff
it plays right into that where, like you said, if I'm just scrolling through and I see someone saying, don't do cardio, here's a 2-second explanation.
right.
I'm gonna be like, okay,
Click, click, click.
great. Like,
Yes.
sign me up. Yeah. And that is kind of, it's also interesting because we were talking earlier too, and I do think that's one thing that me personally, growing as a coach, is something that I need to do a better job of that I've noticed is not being so
Awkward on
extreme.
camera.
Not being so awkward on camera. But no, not being
We've
so
been on
extreme
camera the
because-
whole time.
I know,
You
but
know
now
that,
there's
right?
one like right here. So it was pointed out to me by my wife, my lovely wife. My wife. That, so behind the scenes here, with our new app, we're adding in some off-day circuits, things that you can kind of add in on your active rest days, or maybe at the end of a team session or whatever you're doing.
Some badass stuff coming up.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to be some cool stuff. So watch out for that kind of stuff. One of the things we are doing is a core circuit, and it was pointed out by my wife, Haley,
Yeah, Haley.
that shout out Haley, that I have been like adamantly opposed to doing core workouts. And now I'm sitting here and I'm on a video doing core workouts for everybody. So
And podcasting about it.
And podcasting about how much I hate core workouts. And so I realized that I do need to sometimes take a little bit of a step back and recant my statement that core workouts are the worst thing ever, because they're not. And I don't think I've ever put it quite that extreme.
Right, but again, that might be an extreme that you would put on social media, and
Right.
you would say in a 6-second video, don't ever do ab
Right.
workouts, and that can get the clicks and all this kind
Right.
of stuff. And there is a basis for that. If
Right.
you're going to have 25 minutes and you get to pick in the gym whether you do a 20-minute core workout or a 20-minute lift, you should use that valuable time to lift
Right.
if those are your options. But if you're doing a programming correctly and it's programmed in and you have an off day and you want to do a little bit of an ab circuit,
To
there's
strengthen your core,
there's no problem with that.
not to get.
Right. It's not ab day. I
Right.
really want to clarify.
Right. It's
It's not ab day. It's it's a core circuit
Yes.
that you can
You
add
can do
in.
to supplement
Right.
your
Please, and I think we
Team
say
session.
this in the video, please do not replace your team session or your
With
lift
this.
with this 9-minute long core workout. Please.
Yes.
Don't do that. Add it in on an active rest day.
Yes.
Add it in at the end of a team session or when you come in and lift, add it in at the end of that.
Yeah.
It is not going to replace a team session. It's not going to get you shredded.
Nope.
It's gonna
But it's a
strengthen your
burner,
core.
but it's not gonna.
Yeah. It's a good core workout, but it's a core workout. It's not going to replace lifting, cardio.
Right.
It is, there's a place for it, but don't think that it should be the number one priority.
I love that she called
So,
you out though.
She called me out big time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because it did honestly make me kind of take a step back and be like, I am very extreme in a lot of my, because I'm very passionate about trying to dispel a lot of this bullshit stuff. And so, like, where it all stems from is everybody loves to get on the Instagram reels and on TikTok and all that shit. Because it's super easy to throw together a little minute-long video of, hey, here's 10 ab exercises, get a shredded six-pack in 5 minutes. And if I'm a big shredded guy like I am, if I go out there and I take my shirt off and I'm like, I do these 5 ab exercises, get a 6-pack like me.
Right.
How many? That's going to get a shitload of views.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's super easy.
Exactly.
And it's also going to mislead people into doing those,
Thinking
and
that
thinking
they're
that they're going to look like that
Right.
The end
because
result
of that.
yeah.
He's not. And again, that's the short type of the short form type of media that we consume so much. And in those cases, we would say, do that as a supplement. But here's your fundamental tiers or pillars. Pillars. That was
Right.
the word?
Yep.
Here's your fundamental pillars that you have to hit, and if you don't hit this, definitely don't give a shit about an ab circuit. If you cannot hit your 3-team training sessions for 3 hours in a week, and I catch someone doing an ab circuit and not doing the team sessions,
We're gonna take it off the app.
We're gonna take it
We're
off.
gonna
it's
get it
done.
off.
It's
done.
done.
You guys have been begging for core workouts for the 3 years that I've been here.
Yes.
And we're finally giving it.
So don't be that
your
teammate
off
that gets
day.
caught.
Or, yeah.
Do not get caught.
Don't be that person that makes us take it off the app. We're trusting you guys to be smart with it.
Yeah, no, and that's a big thing, and that kind of this whole conversation that we're talking about with the endurance side leads us into word of the week, which is endurance. We're talking about endurance this season. Couple different types of endurance that you should know about is LISS and MISS and HIT, which is low intensity, steady state, moderate intensity, steady state, as well as HIT, which this season is all about, which is high intensity interval training. And so that is what we're doing this season is HIT. High intensity interval training is when you do a bout of exercise, endurance exercise, as hard as you can go. Hopefully we're getting to 100% and going as hard as you can physically go at that time for a short amount of time, resting and repeat. And so that is the one that's going to burn calories. There's a ton of great benefits for that. But acutely, you're going to burn a ton of calories as well as recovery longer term. So you're going to continue to burn calories after the workout because of HIT style training. Not as much as if you were just doing lifting as far as the extended calorie and basal metabolic rate and stuff like that. But that's kind of what we're talking about today. So endurance is obviously your capacity, your aerobic capacity. How well does your heart beat? How well do your lungs consume oxygen and give your body oxygen? So those are kind of super dumbed down ways to think about, your aerobic capacity or your endurance. So how is your endurance? A lot of people will just think, oh, I get tired really quickly. And so my endurance sucks. Well, if you're getting tired really quickly, that means that on a physical level, your body is not able to bring in oxygen and your heart is not able to push that oxygen with your bloodstream to where you need it to support your muscles and the movement that you're trying to do. So that means you need work on it. And so we're all about optimizing as an athlete. And as an athlete, you want to be able to perform both in running, both and lifting something heavy and running fast and doing all that kind of stuff, right? So if we're optimizing living as an athlete and training like an athlete, endurance is a big part of that. And so that's why in all of our training sessions we have an endurance round, right? Conditioning overall is usually about or a little bit more than half of our training, but endurance specifically is done in every single training at some point in our training. And so every single day you should be worried about that a little bit. And then this season we're worried about that a little bit more. We have a higher emphasis in the endurance and the conditioning thing. And the other thing that you have to think about is not only the capacity to run and move your body from one place to another, but also muscle endurance is something that we are working on this season as well. And so that we're going lighter. We're working on muscular endurance, which is basically going to be a lighter movement, but how many reps can you get in a certain time frame? So if you've trained with us before, if you jumped on the app and you can see kind of where our training is, and you've done a team session with us, the 2020s in the strength side of things is still muscle endurance, still talking about endurance. And when we do that, we want to count the reps up and continue to add to that rep count for the entire 7-minute count, or the entire, I guess, 4 minutes, the first half of each of our strength. We're pushing the same movement, but we're going to count up reps. So that's kind of the telltale sign of, do I have good muscle endurance with this movement? Maybe it's squats. So do my legs have good muscle endurance? And I can improve on that with the same weight, higher reps, or the same reps, higher weight, being able to push it the same amount of times, but more weight doing that. So those are all things that we want to worry about this season. And the other thing that we do this season is, with our power partner, this is condition to conquer season. And so the word play is a little bit there as well. I always wonder this, like, how many people think about the season and actually get that we tie everything together with our power partner. Special Olympics, conditioned to conquer.
No limits.
Yep, no limits, no limits. But that's kind of where, if you're conditioned to conquer outside of the training like an athlete, outside of the worrying about the endurance side of things and the physical side of your body, but we're also talking about conquering fears of challenges, which is a big one we talk about in the meeting. Conquering things that might be in your way, and conditioning yourself to endure what we have, in life. Life is not always easy, and oftentimes it can be difficult for long periods of time, and how you endure that is kind of your mental endurance and your mental fortitude as well. And so all of this kind of ties together with what we do. The Special Olympics, Summer Games just happened, and watching those athletes, compete, and we've watched several different events. They're enduring a lot to be able to compete at a high level.
And it's crazy because their attitudes are just so,
right.
They have it so hard, some of those kids, and they just do it. And they do it with excitement, and they do it with pride, and it's really, really
And so,
cool.
Thinking about, enduring and overcoming is a big part of endurance as well. It's not just a physical thing. We have our training, but I always, in my word of the week, I always like to push to a broader scope of what that word could mean for you, and just beyond the physical side of things. So that's kind of what we tie together with our power partners, with the name of the season. Everything that we do it for a reason. That's kind of just the way that we're wired, I guess, with the programming, with everything. And so it's a big part of endurance and continuing to do things that you have to do, even if they're hard, because you have that mental fortitude and that mental endurance as well. But
love it.
Yeah. So
if I didn't own this gym, I'd definitely go here.
Bingo.
After that,
We'd want you on the
that,
team,
I
right?
would
Just
want it.
But since you do, you don't want to go here?
No, I'm already here. But it's funny because it's like we're talking about it, but it's like everybody should do this, right? Like this just makes so much sense to us that I'm like, why doesn't everybody do this? But
it is one of those
gyms don't
crazy
do it.
things,
Like,
because
it's
so
just
we have someone from Waukee that got a job down in Kansas City, right? Is that where he's going? And I mean, Kansas City is huge, obviously, area. And he was like, I want to try to find a place like Krave. He looked around.
We ruined him.
Yeah,
we ruined
he could not
him.
find anywhere that
Anything.
trained the way that we train. And it's interesting. And I think I can't remember who I was talking about this with the other day. But I think I've said it before too. But it was cool to me coming here right out of college, basically, to see what I learned in school from my professors with their PhDs and like the way things should be, obviously, and seeing a place that actually implements that. Because when I was in school, I was looking at gyms and I was looking at all these places to end up at, and everywhere I was looking, it was like, okay, I've learned all of this stuff. Now I'm getting out into the real world, in quotes, and everything is different. Everything is
And it's not
operated
making sense
differently.
to you, right.
And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense why that is.
I don't mean
But-
to interrupt you because you were on a roll, but I love the way you say different.
different, different,
Different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Emphasize that second syllable.
That's such-
Different.
That's Iowa country right there. Different.
Maybe that's
Yeah,
what
it
you're craving.
is.
How do you
Yeah.
say different?
How do you say different?
Different or
Different.
different?
One other thing.
But it's funny to me because I know, like, but if you go to any high level strength and conditioning at at the collegiate level, you're gonna find their athletes doing this exact same thing.
Right.
So that's the one thing that's super weird to me.
It just
doesn't
baffles
make
me.
sense that we're we're one of the only, if the only, place that does it.
Right. And like it's
It
the
boggles
same
my mind.
it's the same thing that I tell everybody when they first come in to try session out. You know, and whether you played sports growing up or not, you're different. You know, so but everybody, most people showing up have played a sport at some point in their life. Most people,
Right.
not everyone. And I always ask them, you know, when you were playing your sport, you were probably in the best shape of your life. Am I wrong? And 99% of people say, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so why is it that when we get out into, again, the real world, in air quotes, why do we do things differently? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, look at NFL athletes and look at every athlete.
Being paid millions of dollars.
Right. They are the way that they are because of the way that they train. Like,
Yeah.
when you're talking NFL guys and Olympian, those things, there's genetics obviously involved there too.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
But why should we train differently?
And,
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yep. No,
And
it's so
that's like, some people ask, like, why do you guys train the way that you train? And my biggest, like, moment is, like, because there is millions, if not billions of dollars being poured into these athletes, that the purpose of their training is to make them the best physical specimens, the best physical shape that they can be in, and that just all gets wasted when you get out and go to a 24/7 gym
Yeah.
that you see.
It makes no sense.
Why does it not translate from athletics to everywhere else in the fitness industry? Is just
Well, I think if you-
it sucks to
If
me.
you look at it and kind of analyze it, the thing that I always jumps out at me is
We got 5
because it's not a quick, easy fix.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's not something that sells. It's not an easy thing to be like, look over here, I can get you to lose 20 pounds in a month.
Yep.
Because it's not how it works, you know. So it doesn't sell. It doesn't market itself as easily as if I was to, you know, be able to make those like ridiculous claims and then sneak out the door with your money on the other, you know. So yeah, it's very frustrating.
Yeah, so we're at time, and so
Craving.
we don't have time.
It's gonna be really
it's
fast.
11:55.
What's your favorite way to eat a potato?
Yeah, what's your favorite
That's
way to
it.
eat a potato?
Answer it for
Go
next
vote
week.
on it. We'll talk about it
Okay,
more
go
next
vote it.
week.
Okay, perfect. So
See?
that's a pre-craving. I like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Pre-craving.
next week.
Okay, so subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Click that bell, hit that like, so that more people can see our YouTube on there. Thank you guys, everybody that does listen. You know, I hate to end it short because we do have these great conversations.
We were vibing there for a
And-
second.
We could be here for hours.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
God,
the thing, is,
seriously.
like,
We should podcast one of our meetings sometime.
Oh God.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That was like a 2.5 hour meeting.
Yeah. But yeah, so what was the last thing that I wanted to touch on before we left?
We got subscribing.
Subscribing.
Subscribe to the app, download the Krave Gym app. If you're listening and you're not a Krave Gym athlete, download the app, and we will have it for public. All of our training, all of that kind of stuff is on the back end on the on-demand, and we will have that available for the public at some point here shortly. So subscribe to that or download that right now, and you can kind of see a preview of it. And then we'll have that available for all of not only our athletes, but for the general population if you want to see the training that we do, and you can keep up with the season by season training. So
Cool.
there is something else I wanted to say on the sign off, but I forget.
And you're talking a lot because you think it's going to come to you.
Yeah,
and
is
it's not
it
gonna
that-
come to
okay, so
you.
You're an athlete. You're an athlete.
You're
And you're an athlete. Live like it.
And you're like, oh wait. I thought it was
Just kidding.
Just kidding.
I'm surprised.
It's in your DNA.
You're an athlete. Live like an athlete so that you can be successful in life.
You're an athlete. Live like it.
ANA, America needs athletes.